Welcome to Contemporary Retirement. Contemporary Retirement is a public interest program focused on the retirement community. Every program has segments on legal, financial, and health issues affecting the retirement community. Contemporary Retirement is sponsored in part by a major grant from the Family Heritage Trust Company.
Contemporary Retirement is sponsored by Family Heritage Trust Company. The Family Heritage Trust Company is an independent bank chartered trust company established by local professionals to provide fiduciary services, including fee-based investment advice, trust services, retirement planning, and tax planning. The Family Heritage Trust Company is committed to client service in our communities. For more information, call the Family Heritage Trust Company at 301-631-5900.
Contemporary Retirement is sponsored in part by a grant from R. Thomas Murphy & Associates, P.C. R. Thomas Murphy & Associates is one of Franklin County's leading law firms, emphasizing estate, trust, elder law, and medical assistance planning.
Welcome to the Is It Legal feature on Contemporary Retirement. This segment focuses on various legal issues which are of importance to the retirement community. With me today is Tom Murphy from the R. Thomas Murphy Law Firm with offices Waynesboro, Chambersburg, and McConnellsburg. Welcome to the show, Tom.
Good morning, Mike.
Tom, we're dealing with a whole fleet of issues right now in the long-term care environment, and one of the issues that we are dealing with is nursing home contracts that are creating an impression that people are not permitted to engage in long-term care planning.
Yeah, absolutely. There's all kinds of sneaky language and phrases and things that confuse people to make them believe that they're stuck, they're hamstrung.
So we have nursing homes telling people every day that they are prohibited from making gifts. Is that language enforceable if a person is legitimately applying for Medicaid?
Absolutely not. If you're able to keep that facility paid, then it's irrelevant what you do to get them paid.
And because the facility agreed to participate in the medical assistance program, nobody put a gun to their head, they chose to participate in it, they cannot deny you your privilege to exercise whatever rights that are permitted under that Medicaid system.
Exactly. So if you were in a private facility, they can make their own rules, but once they've taken those federal dollars, they have to play by the federal rule book.
And so there's this impression that you can't do anything. They will in fact show you that language saying you can't make transfers. And the language could be enforceable if you are not going to be able to qualify for Medicaid. But if you're engaged with a high quality law attorney, you are going to be able to qualify for Medicaid, and that provision does not apply.
And that's a good point. If you're doing silly things and giving away money and the facility's not getting paid, well, of course they can enforce the contract. But if you do it properly, they're going to be paid, and there's nothing, as far as damages are concerned, that they have to fight about.
And so oftentimes I have clients every day produce, a 50 or 100 page nursing home contract and they want me to read it. And I said, well, first of all, I could read it. I would probably end up having to charge you 3 hours of my time to read it, when in reality it's not necessary, because the fact is the contracts are regulated by the state. There are BARD provisions in there. They're participating in the Medicaid system. There's essentially nothing they can put in that contract that would keep me from being able to do a medical assistance case anyway.
Yeah, that's the most important point, because if you do things properly and they're paid, there's no problem.
And then the only thing that we occasionally see, not often, is once in a while you will see an option in a nursing home contract that says, will you pay it from your funds? You being the child, you should always say no. And other than that, and even if you did give the wrong answer, it still doesn't keep us from being able to protect you anyway, but it's certainly handy not to give the wrong answer.
Right, and if an agent under power of attorney is acting for mom or dad or spouse, again, if you do it properly, you're not personally liable for their expenses.
So I can look at a 100-page contract and say, I only need to look at the one page to see what it says. I really don't want to bill you for 3 hours reading the thing. I know it's intimidating to you, but the fact of the matter is that we know that virtually every facility in our viewing area is a Medicaid facility, which then means they're bound by those rules, which means you can do Medicaid planning. And at the end of the day, federal law prohibits the power of attorney or child from being held liable for that bill.
Right, and so the bottom line is, if you do it properly, no liability. If you mess it up, now you do have liability.
And most of the times we can fix it. It's just not
Yeah,
that
exactly.
big. So we don't tend to read contracts and charge people for it because it just isn't necessary.
Exactly.
Now, we also have this sense that nursing homes are telling people they can't apply for Medicaid. They are sort of saying, we're not accepting your person if you're going to apply for Medicaid. Well, the reality is they can't do that. So in fact, if you accept it into a Medicaid facility, they cannot bar you from then applying.
Right, it's like doing anything else you're legally allowed to do. And so they're coming up with arbitrary sets of rules and it's not enforceable. So you should make sure you know your rights and pursue them.
And so we as elder law attorneys are never impressed by the nursing homes language on this stuff because they are subject to the 800-pound gorilla, the federal government rules, and the reality is they cannot enforce some of those provisions.
Exactly, and if they want to keep at that trough for the federal government, they've got to follow the rules or they'll be barred.
Tom, as always, thanks for taking time to appear on the program.
You're welcome.
More from Contemporary Retirement after these messages.
Few things in life are as important as family. Leave your insurance worries to us, Wright Gardner. Call or visit our website to learn how we can make insurance simple and more affordable.
Every life that meets its end leaves a heart for love to mend. Sister, brother, family, friends are left to carry on. When the loss seems more than you can bear, it's nice to know that we'll be there at Double Safe Fiery Funeral Home. We care.
Call Ed Lowe to help put your mind at ease.
Welcome to the special guest feature on Contemporary Retirement. This segment focuses on various issues which are of importance to the retirement community. With me today is Doug Wright, Chairman, Senior Living Alternatives, otherwise known as Holly Place. Welcome to the show, Doug.
Thank you, Mike. Great to be here.
You know, Doug, you and I have become involved with housing issues associated to the retirement community by completely divergent points. You are a volunteer for extensive periods of time in senior housing projects.
That's right. With the Alexander House downtown, I was on their board for a number of years and then migrated over to and added to that with my involvement with Holly Place.
It's kind of interesting because your group recognized that you had a lot of senior citizens within a beautiful facility that you had, an old redeveloped hotel, really cool. Mm-hmm. But the problem is they began to experience health needs. There was literally no support because that was not what senior housing was designed to provide.
That's exactly right. Folks continuing to get older, the health problems continue to expand. They're no longer able to take care of themselves in independent living, which we had, and they need to go somewhere else for their safety as well as the safety for our rest of our residents.
And I commend your board by taking an activist role in this situation, sort of delegating you to go try to find some alternative housing as these people needed to migrate out of your no service environment into a stronger service environment.
Well, we saw what Holly Place was doing and we were aware of them, and also we were aware that they needed help. And we thought it important to continue to provide that care for our residents so to keep that place moving and up to finances.
And of course, I have the same issue coming at it from an elder law attorney's perspective, recognizing people, whether it be in a senior housing project or in their own home, they needed additional support. Now, for a person who has significant resources, they can go to a for-profit assisted living facility and they're going to be just fine. But the problem that we have is our delivery system does not address people of modest means needing assisted living.
There's no place for them. I mean, some people even go into those for-profits and they run through their savings and then they're out. So there's a number of people out there and that number is growing, who need this 24-hour-a-day support in their living conditions.
So as a part of your role working for a senior housing group, you went and you became active in Holly Place. So tell us a little bit about what Holly Place is all about.
Well, as we were saying, Holly Place is really for those who can't afford for-profit assisted living. Their family can no longer take care of them. They don't have the finances. Basically, all they have is maybe a small savings account, but mostly their own Social Security, and they can't afford the $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month that for-profits are charging. So we have a small facility, not big enough, that will provide care for at least 15 folks who live there. They're our clients 24 hours a day, 365 days a week.
They need 7 by 24 care, but that 7 by 24 care does not mean nursing home level of care.
No.
And it's a complete gap in the delivery system for people of modest means.
Right. Nursing home care is more taken care of by the government, but not assisted living.
So we have some pictures here. We'll have Director Greg pull up a few of our pictures. So this is an old historic property, downtown Hagerstown.
200 blocks South Potomac Street.
And even though it's 3 stories, you have an elevator.
We do, and it's getting older.
All right. And so, and then you provide, as you say, meal support, you provide medication support, and within a very limited context, you also try to provide some, entertainment and activities and so forth. But, this unfortunately is, we got to get by.
Yep, that's right.
And one of the things that we would really request that our viewers do is, if you see it in your heart to provide some support, how can they get more information and provide some support?
They certainly can call our facility at 301-733-3008 or write us at 268 South Potomac Street, 21740.
And you're a 501c3, so it's a
are.
tax-deductible contribution.
Yes.
And every year, the public has to help support these people. The reality is the government is not providing a significant portion of it. It comes from community people supporting the organization.
Right. 25% of our income is now coming from government support. 41% is now coming from the community, and we still can need more to make up that difference. Our number one expense is the folks taking care of the folks.
And so once again, contributions, where?
Contributions, 268 South Potomac Street, Hagerstown, 21740.
Doug, as always, thanks for taking time to appear on the program.
Mike, great pleasure being here. Thank you.
More from Contemporary Retirement after these messages.
Tranquility at Fredericktown Assisted Living and Memory Care provides a warm, home-like atmosphere that promotes daily life enrichment. At Tranquility, our medical director is a geriatric physician. Our professionals support and understand the various stages associated with Alzheimer's and dementia. We have on-site physical, occupational, and speech therapists, as well as around-the-clock licensed nurses. For more information, give Tranquility at Fredericktown a call today, because everyone deserves great care. Let us do the caregiving so you and your loved one can embrace life again.
Come on, Dad, let's go! We're gonna be late! Hurry!
Just one more bid on HurleyAuctions.com. If you haven't visited HurleyAuctions.com, you don't know what you're missing. Whether you're buying or selling, antique cars, tractors, boats, or real estate, you can do it all at HurleyAuctions.com.
Get to know Dr. Carrie Hesley at Diagnostic Imaging Services.
What I find most rewarding is caring for women through our Women's Imaging Center. We have a caring staff that will ease patients through an ultrasound, bone densitometry, breast biopsy, or mammogram. Our health team is sensitive to emotions involved in women's imaging and understands that every woman is at risk for breast cancer. Providing the community with a center that is so dedicated to breast health and the imaging needs of women is something special.
DIS Women's Imaging Center, providing women with progressive care.
Welcome to Contemporary Health Scene. Contemporary Health Scene focuses on the health issues affecting the retirement community. With me today is Paul Sweeney, President of Quality First Insurance Agency. Welcome to the show, Paul.
Good morning, Mike.
Now, whenever we have you on the Health Scene program, obviously your insurance agent doesn't do surgery.
Oh, I'm not that I'm prepared for anyway.
Victimized by surgery.
Yeah.
So why would we have you on a health segment?
Well, because many of our clients, we deal with health insurance, and many of our clients go through that, and they want to make sure they have insurance coverage that's going to help pay for it.
And we have a lot of transition going on in senior health insurance, and some of it is structurally built in, some of it is perceived that is not in fact real. We always like to try to address these issues. Structural, Part D, what am I talking about?
Well, Part D is the prescription drug program that Medicare offers, and there are certain times in the year that you're eligible to make a change to that particular program. We're wrapping up the 2017 season and we're going into the 2018 season. So what we like to remind everybody is that your plan is going to change from this year, 2017, to a new plan in 2018.
They're one-year contracts, and the contracts are constantly changing. There is a guarantee that the contract you have right now will be different. Notice we did not say maybe, we said guaranteed.
Guaranteed it will be different. Most people just look to see if the premium has changed, and if the premium didn't change much, they many times make the assumption that, well, I'm just going to stay with the plan because the premium only changed $1 or $2. That's a big mistake, because the other thing that can change, and which commonly changes, is something called the plan formulary. That's the medications that are going to be covered by that particular plan.
And it's guaranteed that it's going to change. It's an insurance company's favorite game is the shell game, the carnival shell game. Where's the ball? They're moving the stuff around. And so you and I every day deal with people who say, well, I don't see any reason to look. I'm satisfied with my current plan. Well, that's great, except it's guaranteed it isn't going to be the same next year.
Yeah, sometimes you can stay with the same plan, but many times you have to change your plan. I would say that the people that we've counseled so far this year, probably more than half of them have changed to a different program. And so if you're making the mistake of just saying, I'm going to stay with the same plan because I'm sure it's going to be okay, you might have a problem when 2018 rolls around, because you're probably not going to be able to change that plan next year.
And by the way, while your agency is based in Maryland, you deal all the 4 states in the region, so it's and it's the same issue with every state, and they all have different plans to go on top of that. So you must pay attention. We happen to know that one of the plan has dropped a very significantly used, publicly well-known blood thinner. And so if you fail to pay attention to that, and that was covered by that plan this year, you could easily find yourself with a $300 a month uncovered prescription.
Right, and not only is it going to be uncovered, it's not going to count towards the plan's deductible if it has a deductible. It's not going to count towards the plan's out-of-pocket maximum, and you're not going to get the discounted rate. Many of the programs have discounted costs for the prescriptions. So if you don't have it covered by the plan, your rate is going to be much, much higher.
And you need to pay attention, and it's not that hard. How can you go find out, even if you have a plan change in front of you, if your prescriptions are not on it, it's an automatic that you need to figure out if there's a plan that covers you better.
There's a lot of ways you can check. You can go to a website. It's Medicare.gov's website, very user-friendly.
Follow the prompts, you'll get right to it.
Yep, just you do something called a general search. You plug in the zip code. You don't have to give them any particulars about yourself, no names, addresses, or anything, but you just list your medications. And it's very easy to find out if which plans are going to cover those medications.
And one of the other insurance company, actually 2 of the other favorite games they like to play is change of initial deductibles, which was their favorite game in 2017, was to raise the initial deductible, and then shifting tiers. What do I mean by shifting tiers?
Well, tiers are associated with something called copays. A copay is what you pay per medication. So if you have a lower numbered tier, like a 1 or a 2 tier, generally you're going to have a low copay. Most generics fall into those categories. But then when you get to what's called a name brand medication, it's going to have a higher tier, which is going to be a higher copay. And then one of the highest copays is generally going to be something called a non-preferred medication or non-preferred name brand drug, which could have a copay as high as $100. And it's not unusual to have, especially when a generic comes out, for a name brand medication to be moved to the very high tier.
And so you might find just by comparing plans, everything else could be the same, except the copay on that $100 might be $50 in another plan versus $100 in the plan that you have.
Right, and many times too, you can go to different pharmacies. There are preferred pharmacies, there are standard pharmacies, there are some pharmacies don't even work with certain plans. So you got to pay attention.
Paul, as always, thanks for taking time to appear on the program.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
More from Contemporary Retirement after these messages.
The Community Foundation has helped create signs of community strength for more than 30 years. Scholarships assist with post-secondary education, and grants support programs throughout Frederick County. making a big impact. Because of generous donors like you. Add your sign of community strength by creating a fund that supports the causes you care about.
Albright, Crumbacher, Mal, and ITEL are a full-service firm that provides elder care services, including managing incoming bills, bill payment, depositing checks, balancing bank statements, and preparing, planning, and filing personal tax returns. Put your mind at ease and call us today.
Welcome to the Making Sense feature on contemporary retirement. This segment focuses on the financial issues affecting the retirement community. With me today is Pete Alexander, a partner in the regional accounting firm of Albright, Crumbacher, Mao, and ITEL, with offices in Hagerstown and Martinsburg. Welcome to the show, Pete.
Great to be here, Mike.
You know, Pete, of course, we made mention you have offices in those two states, but in reality, modern accounting firms can do tax returns for anywhere in the country.
Yeah, I mean, remember, the most important thing is the federal return, and about 45 out of the 50 states basically start with the federal return with some minor modifications. But you're right, especially once you're in Maryland, then you're forced, whether you want to or not, to do West Virginia, Virginia, PA, the district, and then we have a lot of snowbirds that either want to head down to Nevada or Arizona or Florida. So we have people all over the country that have retired to exotic locales, some no tax states like Texas, you know. So yeah, we pretty much handle all 50 states.
And one of the interesting things about it is when you and I started practicing many eons ago, it was almost as if the CPA firms sold the form. But today, that's really almost totally irrelevant in the process.
Yeah, first, let's be clear, you started long before me, okay? Right. So I'm a much younger guy. But yeah, we basically filled out forms and pushed a lot of paper. Now the good thing is a lot of the calculations are computerized, and that allows us to free up and focus on not just minimizing taxes, but maximizing an individual's wealth.
And really, that's the whole goal. It's not the form anymore. It's about maximizing the opportunity for a person to preserve and accumulate wealth.
Yeah, the form's the end result. The form, as we always say, tax planning needs to be done all year long, not January through April 15th. It needs to be done all year long because the goal is to try to structure everything so people get to hang on to as much of their money as they can, and people can live their life the way they want, not the way taxes force them to.
All right, so now we're in December, so it's obviously the tail end of the opportunity to do effective planning.
Yes, right now in December, remember most individuals, what happens by December 31st, with few exceptions like IRA contributions, health savings accounts can be done next year, but everything else for the most part has to be done by December 31st to count in this year.
So if a person wants to do any effective tax planning, now is the time to get an appointment scheduled with that CPA, and don't think you're going to get an appointment between December 25th and December 31st.
Yeah, really your perfect world would have been a month ago. That way you have time. But we're talking about, you know, you may have losses in your stock portfolio, and now may be a good time to recognize some of those gains. You may have had dogs in that portfolio for years upon years. If you still are in love with that dog, you can sell it, take the loss, wait 30 days and rebuy it. But you probably will have some gains because the market has done so well this year.
And then that's a corresponding issue here too, is you have stocks that you're feeling the need that, you know, they've gone up a lot and you feel like maybe you ought to sell something. Well, if you pay attention to that, you may be able to coordinate the disposition of that dog while, you know, liquidating a stock that you have significant gain in.
Right, and that way you'll reduce your gain or maybe eliminate your gain altogether. And there's another big point, and that is people in the 10 or 15% bracket, their capital gain rate is 0.
Now, would you restate that?
If you're in a 0% bracket, a 10% tax bracket, or a 15% tax bracket, both your ordinary dividends and your capital gains, to the extent if they were ordinary, they would be taxed at 10 or 15%, they get a 0% tax rate.
So we have people here who've worked for major corporations. We're engaging in these strategies right now. They only have, you know, $30,000 in income. They may be able to sell $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 worth of gain in that company stock that they've been afraid to sell and pay no federal rate on it.
Right, and the key there is gain, because you may be able to cash in $100,000 of stock that you paid $70,000 for and recognize 30. And once that's gone, each year, once that's gone, you can't go back 3 years down the road and say, oh, I didn't use up all my 15% bracket. Let me go back and grab that. You can't do it. So it's that each year it must happen or it's gone forever.
And we see these people afraid to sell that company stock that they've worked for years because they think there's going to be a massive tax. But in reality, they have a disproportionate holding, too much in that stock. And with a little bit of planning, working with your CPA, you may be able to work yourself down with minimal tax implications.
Right, and that doesn't mean you have to spend the money once you sell it. You can reinvest, but you can diversify yourself a little bit. That way all your eggs aren't in one basket.
And that's one of the great challenges of not only doing good tax planning, but it's also good personal planning. And you know, oftentimes I have clients that have massive amounts of their company stock, and if I were to ask them, would you go out and buy that stock today? They say, absolutely not. But they don't realize keeping it is the same as buying it.
Yeah, I mean, taxes have a real effect on your decision making, but in order to make the right decision, you need to know the effect they actually have, not the effect you think they're going to have.
And that's a visit to your CPA.
Most often.
Pete, as always, thanks for taking time to appear on the program.
Great to be here, Mike.
Thank you from Contemporary Retirement.
Remember a more carefree time? Leave your insurance worries to us, Wright Gardner. Call or visit our website to learn how we can make insurance simple and more affordable.
These days, it seems like everything's online, and filling out claim forms and receiving and paying bills online isn't always easiest. That's why we at Quality First Insurance encourage you to just give us a call. Let us help.
Hi there, I'm Paul Sweeney with Quality First Insurance, and it's still just as simple. Our offices are open every weekday where you'll be able to call and speak to real, live people.
No detail was missed. I'm so glad that I turned to Quality First Insurance.
I've recommended Quality First Insurance to my friends who've been just as satisfied.
If you're not happy with what you're paying for Medigap, or more importantly, not happy with your service, give us a try. We're locally owned, and we take the time to provide you with the best. We are Quality First Insurance, and our mission is to provide quality products to quality people. Pick up the phone and give us a call today at 800-745-1411.